Hey everyone, it's Nate. Today I'm going to show you why I bought $10,000 worth of watches. I'll tell you in a minute. Let's get it. Welcome back. My name is Nate and I'm here to help you master your money. So I know that from the title of the video it probably sounds like, oh no, it's just another YouTuber here flexing his wealth on everyone. Well, I'm here deciding whether or not I should have guac on my burrito, and that's a hard decision. So this is not that at all. What this is going to be though is me teaching and showing you how to flip and resell items for a profit. And this is also going to be me sharing my story about how I bought $10,000 worth of watches for $260. Stay tuned, I'll go through all that. But first, we need to cover something very important, and you know it's coming if you've seen a few of my videos, and that is to smash the YouTube algorithm for the like button. That would be huge. Please and thank you. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. That is a huge help for me. It boosts me so much, and I love it when the little thing just goes boop up one more. So please do that. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so moving right into what I'm going to talk about today, and that is going to be flipping items online, how to do that, what to look out for, the processes you need to put in place before you get going, and really what to look out for and the warning signs of potential downfalls to this whole system. So there's quite a few items in here that I'm going to address, and I'm going to break it down as simply as possible. And so I'm going to start at step 1, and we're going to go to step 5, and I'll walk you through these items that you should try and follow if you can, if you want to flip items for a profit and sell them. All right, guys, so step 1 is going to be what you want to sell. You need to figure that out, and there's several things that you can try and do this way. So choosing what item you're going to sell depends on your preferences. It depends on what you like to do, and it depends on what really piques your interest. That's one thing to consider, but also it's considering how much capital you have to start out with. So one common thing I see flipped quite a bit is going to be shoes. That's a big thing, and I have a few resources linked in the description below that kind of go over how to do that, what to look out for, how to start in that thing, and really just, kind of a how-to, how to get going with that. And so with shoes, you only need maybe $100 or so to start out flipping items, and you can go back and forth and you can make a decent profit with this. So this is going to be the lowest capital requirement for the items I'm talking about today. And so the next item up on the list is going to be watches. This is the thing that I have done recently and that I've really enjoyed. And I've also found that it's a reasonably profitable thing to try and flip and resell online. So it's worked out really good. And this one is going to require a little bit more capital. So if you're starting out with this, you may need like $250 to $500, somewhere in that range, to start and to get going flipping watches. So the next step up from the watches is going to be cars. Now this is going to require a very sizable bit of capital, but if you know how to do this and you do it right, you can definitely make a good bit of money with this. So for example, I saw a Honda S2000 for sale in the area a few months ago, and it was very underpriced. And I believe it had only about 30,000 miles on it, and the lady was selling it for $6,000. Now, given that it's almost a 20-year-old car, you wouldn't think that that would be some crazy thing. That's a fair amount to pay for a car, or even too much to pay. But these cars are not made anymore. They're highly desirable by car enthusiasts, and they're just fun, reliable cars to have, and so there's a big demand for them, and they charge a premium for ones that are in good condition. So what ended up happening with this car, someone bought it pretty quickly, as a lot of people were asking about it, and just a week later, I saw that car back up for sale, and someone was charging about $14,000 for the exact same car. And that sold pretty quickly too. So just to come to show you, if you have the right product and you get it at the right price, you'll have no problem reselling it. Okay, so now we've covered thinking about the items that you want to sell. We're moving on to step 2, which is going to be to research. So when you get into your niche and you find what you want to work on, what you want to sell, you really got to know as much as you possibly can so that when you go to negotiate to buy things to go ahead and resell them, you're not screwing yourself over. You're not making a big mess for yourself down the line when you try to sell it and you pay too much for it, so maybe you lose money on the deal or something like that. This is going to help you avoid that. So the more that you know, the more that you can go into a negotiation knowing, the better. So what it really helps to do is really watch YouTube videos on the thing you're trying to sell and to get into. Another thing you can do is look up just listicles of the things to look out for when you're selling and when you're buying watches or shoes or cars or whatever it is, and when you're trying to do this for a profit. And so after a little while, you'll know the price points, you'll know the numbers, you'll know roughly how much you can sell an item for. And so if you want to have a certain amount of profit, you need to have your purchasing price for your items be under a certain amount. So what can really, really help you out in your quest to do this is going to be to know the average sale prices for the items that you're trying to flip. So if you know that, you can work back from there and determine how much profit you're going to get out of every deal. Okay, so moving on to step 3, this is going to be where to sell your product. So what you want to do is you want to determine what's going to be the very best avenue for you to sell the things you're trying to flip. So you're going to have to buy them from someplace, but we're going to get to that in a minute because so what I think with flipping items is really the most important factor is determining if there is a demand for the item that you want to flip. So if you have something and it's worth a good bit of money and it's valuable and you know that it is, but there's little demand for it, you may buy this thing, but have it sit on your shelf or in your closet waiting for someone to buy it for several months if it's not a very high in demand product. So what you really want to do is determine what the best avenue is going to be for you to resell these. So for watches, I found that eBay is the best option for me. I can list things on there. I can see the competitive pricing of other people with similar items, and I can get a feel for what sells well and what doesn't sell well, and I can kind of gauge from there if certain deals are worth it or not for me to buy into. And so depending on what you're selling, other things that you may want to consider is using Amazon for certain items. So what you're going to want to do when it comes to cars for selling them is to sell them on AutoTrader or Cars.com. Those I found are the 2 best platforms for that because you can have a nationwide search for cars, and if your car is desirable enough, people will travel across the country and come get the car, if it merits that. Okay, so now that I have addressed number 3 and considering where to sell your items, this I think is the most important one of all, and this is where a lot of headaches come up. And that is going to be where to source your items from, where to get them from. So when I started out doing watches, what I did is I went to pawn shops. That's primarily where I went to, and I just looked at the watches that they had, and if they had anything that was worth anything, if it was undervalued, underpriced, and that's kind of a good way to kind of see if something's going to be a good deal or not. So the first watch that I ever bought was actually a vintage Omega Constellation from 1968, and they had it listed for an insanely low price as compared to what it's worth. And so I realized not so much the brand of the watch, but I was in there for something totally different, and I noticed that, and I saw that, and I recognized the name, and so I popped out of the store, I looked it up on my phone, and lo and behold, people are listing these watches for almost $3,000, $4,000 on eBay. And so what I did is I went back into the store and I negotiated and I bought the watch for $100, and then I took it home, and then I began what essentially became my journey to flip luxury watches. And so with this initial purchase and resale of that watch, I realized the capacity and the potential there is in reselling items to make a sizable profit. So from this revelation, I went and did a lot of research. I looked up different trends. I looked up different models of various watches, seeing how they all fit together and the demand for all these things, so that when I go and look at things, I know how much to price the items for. I know how much to go ahead and buy them for, so I have a nice little bit of profit in between. So one important thing to consider when you're buying your watches, see right here, this is where you have to set the bar. You have to decide how much profit that you want to take out of every deal. And so when I mean deal, I mean you going ahead and buying the watch and then selling it and then stuff in between, and how much profit you make from that. And so when I say deal, it's that whole chunk of process right there. So what you need to do at this step, this is very important, you need to determine how much profit you want to have on every transaction that you do. Doing this requires that you know the prices of the items, how much they sell for, and negotiating the price that you're paying to buy these items for. And so if you do this with a wide enough gap, you can have very sizable margins for every transaction you do. So for me, I have set a benchmark for every transaction that I do, and I only will go into a transaction if I know pretty reasonably that I could double my money with every step that I take. And to illustrate this in a minute, I'm going to walk through all the transactions that I have done fairly recently and the ones that I have coming up. And so when you're purchasing your items to go ahead and flip, consider that pawn shops are not the only place you can get them from. But great places that you can try to also get stuff from is going to be estate sales, Facebook Marketplace, and Craigslist. These 3 places in combination with pawn shops are really awesome opportunities to source really good items for your little flipping empire. And the reason why these are so much better is because just geographically, you have fewer people bidding and trying to get the items that you maybe want to get. So that keeps prices a little bit lower, and that helps you in the long term keep more of your money. Okay, so now on to step 5. This is going to be to sell the item. You have done your research, you have done your work, you have purchased a impeccable item at a really good price, and you have a good bit of margin built in there, so you know that you can make maybe 100% back on your money, or 200% depending on how the thing went. So now that you're here, there's a few things you're gonna wanna keep in mind and know going into selling your item. So I know that this is 100% accurate for the watch space, but I don't know if this is also true for shoes and cars, but definitely for watches, you need to watch out for scammers. They are out there in droves every other day. Actually, I'm sorry, like 3 times a day now, I'm getting fake offers on things, fake bids on things, and people trying to scam you left and right. And you really gotta be careful and just be focused and detail oriented when you're looking through the messages they give you to avoid getting scammed. Because I was being very careful with all of this and I almost got scammed. So please be careful, because there's so many people out there trying to take your products, trying to take your money, and it's pretty sad. But it's reality, so we gotta do our best to deal with that. So that is item 1. Item 2, take good pictures. Please, for all that is good in this world, take decent pictures of the stuff you're trying to sell. It may look great in person, it may look good, but I mean, if you're like using a cheeseburger to take a photo with, like, don't do that. Like clean it up a little bit. Like if it's some shoes, maybe clean the shoes up. If it's a car, give the car a wash. If it's a watch, get some Cape Cod polishing cloths or just something else, and just clean the thing up before you take a picture. Take nice photos with a clean background so they can see all the details and they can see the merit of the thing you're trying to sell. Because if you're trying to use like your selfie cam and do something crazy with that, and it's like on your lap or something, it's not gonna go super well. And like it's a pretty proven thing that when you have good pictures on your listings, they're gonna sell so much faster and you're gonna get more for them too. Okay, and so for the last thing, for step 5, this is going to be a pretty flexible thing, and this is going to be what you're gonna wanna do with pricing. When you're pricing your item, depending on where it's at, you want to price it low enough so that it gets a good bit of attention and will sell relatively quickly, but not too low that you don't make any money on the deal. The goal is here to make a little bit of money in between you buying and selling, and if you don't price it just right, it could come back to bite you. So make sure to price it right the first time, and it's gonna go a lot smoother for you in the long run. All right, everyone, so that's my overview on how to flip items, the things to look out for, the things to do along your process of getting into this and trying it out. And really, it's a good little side thing to do, and you can find really good deals just about anywhere. And so I've enjoyed it. It's been a fun little thing for me to do during quarantine. I've been able to search and find these things and make a little bit of coin on the side. So that's been really fun. So we're not done yet. We're almost done, but we're not done yet. We're gonna have a little story time and talk about the things that I've been doing recently and a little background on the watch stuff that I've gotten into recently. Okay, so this all started when I was looking for something for a friend in a pawn shop. And I came across this watch. I saw it in a display case, and I recognized the name of it, and I saw that it was a bit old, and I thought, is this worth looking into? So I took a picture of it, and then I left, and I did some research, and I found out that this watch was a very desirable watch, and that the models of this watch today that are selling, they're going for about $4,000. And the name of this watch is an Omega Constellation. The one that I bought was made in 1968, and it was the Big Star variant, if you will, the Big Star trim package. I'm not 100% positive on the verbiage, but that's essentially what it was. And so it was a special edition watch from 1968, and it was sitting there, and I was able to buy it for $100 after some negotiation. I was able to get a pretty good deal on it. And then so I went home and put that on eBay, and I sold that for $820. So put $100 in, got $820 out. So that had me pretty excited, because I did not think that would go that smoothly, and it did. So let me just preface this here. That is not typical. Not every transaction is going to go that well, but it's possible. It is possible, and I found it by accident, essentially. So that's number 1. The second one that I did was a ladies' watch. It's a Tag Heuer Link. It was a 2-tone one, and I'll put an image up right here so you can see it. And that one I purchased for $160. and I turned around and sold it for $350. So you see, there's a good bit of money to be made here. There's a good little bit of wiggle room that you can exploit and use to your benefit. And the neat thing is, a lot of the times with these high tier watches that people don't necessarily know the name of quite so much, it leaves a lot of opportunity for profit in there. And so my analogy with this is that most everybody has heard the term Rolex, right? Yeah, fair to say. Everyone, most people have probably heard that name. They know it, and they know it's a high-end watch company, right? And so in the same breath, people have also mostly heard of Rolls-Royce. And Rolls-Royce and Rolex are kind of equated as like the upper echelon of their respective fields. And so at this level of quality, there's also competitors to Rolex and to Rolls-Royce. And with Rolex, it's gonna be Omega, Breitling, Tag Heuer, and for Rolls-Royce, it's gonna be, well, primarily Bentley. But so you see, there's still things in the same level of quality and desirability, but they don't have the same name recognition. And so with this, people don't know the names of these other watches that I mentioned. So like Tag Heuer, Omega, Breitling, they're not as well known as Rolex. I'm just kidding. This is actually not a real one. This is a fake, but it looks pretty cool. I like it, so I keep it. Anyways, so because of that name recognition is not there with the other watches, you have a lot more opportunity to get a good deal on them because the people that run the pawn shops may not know what they have there. And so that gives you the opportunity to negotiate for a really, really low price and get a lot of profit on that deal. And so that's just two examples of really, really awesome deals that I have had with this. Those are my first two, and they went super well. And in combination, I'm just gonna give you the numbers right here. I put in $260 that I paid for both the watches in total. And in total, I got back $720 plus $350, whatever that is. But the profit there was $710 for putting $260 in. So it was a really, really awesome learning experience. I was able to handle some really cool watches, but also I was able to make some good money on the side, and that helped my wife and I when we went to go visit family just recently. So that worked out super well for that. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed today. I hope that this was able to kind of open your eyes to a new little side hustle or even full-time hustle that you may want to try out or do. And it really can be a lot of fun depending on what kind of thing you get into doing. And yeah, I would definitely recommend it. So if you have any thoughts or stories about flipping items that you want to share, that would be awesome. Put it in the comments below. I will read and respond to every single comment, and I'll drop a like button for your YouTube algorithm if you do that, because I love you guys and you deserve it. And so before I go, I just want to say sorry. I truly am, for not posting as consistently as you guys deserve. I was doing a really, really great job posting a video a week, and then life happened. And life happens sometimes, and I'm sorry for that, and I recognize that I need to be posting more often. So I really apologize to you guys, but we're getting back on schedule. Things are going as planned again, and I will see you every week from this week until the end of weeks. This has been Nate Buck, and you've enjoyed my content, and I thank you for sticking around. I'll see you next time. Bye.